and welcome back to Mother Tongue, your eyes, ears, and finger on the pulse for all parents around the world. Let's get going, shall we?
We are so incredibly excited to welcome Aileen Cox Blundell to Mother Tongue. Aileen, how are you?
Hello, welcome. Welcome. Hi, how are you?
I love this.
Welcome to your own podcast.
Welcome. We're going to talk all about weaning today, and I'm very excited.
How are you?
Surviving. We were just talking off air about my weaning so far, and I'm actually, I say this, I recorded a sleep podcast not that long ago, and there's me like bragging how good my newborn is sleeping, and then that night I had like one of the worst nights sleep ever. So I'm gonna,
you jinxed yourself.
Exactly. I bet I'm gonna sit here and be like, yeah, my 4 month is such a good little eater, and then he's gonna start refusing all food, which let's hope this doesn't happen.
Though.
I hope not. I feel like weaning, like, there's not real going backwards. There's no regressions like there is in sleep, unless I'm wrong and I just haven't experienced a weaning regression yet.
Well, sometimes maybe if babies are maybe going through like teething, or they might be under the weather, things like that, they might go off food. So that can happen, but it's generally they will go back to eating it again. It's not like they'll go off it and then they don't go back, because obviously kids will eat when they're hungry. So
This is
it all
true.
depends on little tummies, you know.
This is true. And actually, I'm going to go off on a massive tangent and then we're going to come back to the conversation. But I remember my eldest teethed really late. He didn't start teething until didn't start getting teeth until he was like 9 months. And then he got loads of teeth between 9 months and probably 16 months. And he just totally went off his food. And when he was such a good eater, he would eat anything. And then when he came back onto food at like 16, 17 months, he was such a fussy eater, because I'd kind of caved and been like, whatever you want, little boy, like you can just eat yogurt because your teeth hurt so much. And then he would literally like exclusively just eat yogurt. And I was like, great.
Because he's holding out. They're so clever.
I know.
At that age, when babies are so small, they know that if they don't eat their dinner and you give them yogurt or toast or banana or something else later on, they'll hold out for that.
Always.
Like even the children. Like, I've worked with a dietitian, and she was telling me that even in the hospital with children that have like Down syndrome, like they would, like the children that are special needs in hospitals, that like when she's working with their parents, she's like, they're so smart. They literally will hold out for the food that they know that they want, that they like.
Yeah,
So
and they know you'll cave.
Yeah, they all do it. So it's really important for parents that are out there, if you are going through something like that, to just keep offering the food and know that your job is to cook the food and put it down in front of your baby, and your baby's job is to eat it, decide whether they want to eat it or not. So it's kind of, it's really tough. It's really tough, I think, on parents more than it is on children. But yeah, have that like not bothered attitude, like eat it or don't. It's totally up to you.
I actually really love that. I feel like we've totally done this podcast the entire wrong way around, because we haven't even introduced you yet, and we're going to do that. I think it's obvious that we're going to be talking about food and weaning today. But Aileen, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so I started Baby-Led Feeding, which is my business, and I started Baby-Led Feeding when my little boy Oscar was 2 years old. I had been taking photographs of food I was feeding him and put it together in this like lovely little book that I was going to give him when he was 18, to show him that I actually did cook and did do all this like amazing stuff for him. And I had no intention of ever making it into a business or making it into anything else. But my mum saw all the photographs that I had taken of him when he was about a year old, and she was like, I think you should maybe think about like getting a book published. Like, it's really good. Like, the pictures are really good and the recipes are really good. Like, I want all your recipes. So I was like, nobody's going to buy my book. So I wrote a proposal. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And my mum was like, just do it. Like, you can do it. And she's real like believer, you know. So I wrote a proposal and I sent it into a publisher, and the publisher was like, yeah, we think it's a really good idea, but nobody knows who you are. Like, you're just a mum at home. And that sentence alone, "you're just a mum at home," was enough to kind of make me go, how dare you say that about me? So I went and I set up a Facebook page, and within 4 days I had 4,000 people following me on Facebook from all around the world, just from like sharing recipes. At the time, I was the only person besides Jill Rapley that was sharing anything on baby-led weaning. I was the only person.
Wow.
And I had done baby-led weaning with my daughter. My daughter's 23. I know I don't look like I have a 23-year-old, but
No.
thanks. So she's 23. And when I was weaning her, she just stopped. She just refused to eat with a spoon. So I had no choice but to feed her in a baby-led approach. So let her pick the food up and put it to her mouth on her own. And I never knew that the term baby-led weaning was actually a thing until I went and got my book published. And then I'm like, oh, there's a whole movement of people that are doing this. And there's like Facebook groups of people that are doing this. So I joined all the groups and I started sharing my recipes. But it grew and grew and grew. And I ended up doing TV and I ended up doing radio. And
Wow.
then my book got published. My publisher came back and was like, okay, we'll publish your book now. So my book got published and it became a #1 bestseller. So, and then my second book got published and that was #2 on the bestsellers list, but Michelle Obama was just above me because her book came out the same week. But my book was #2 and hers was #1.
That's
And it's
wild.
yeah, it's wild. Like such a mental story. And then it's just honestly like having this business has changed my life. I went back to university in 2019. I went back and started studying nutrition and I have just finished my master. I'm almost finished. I have to just finish writing my dissertation, but I'm almost finished a master's in nutrition. So I'll be a registered nutritionist, hopefully, if I pass everything by September, but October. But I can't believe it. And then I'll be 10 years in business. So in 10 years, I'll have done that. I just like, it's just amazing. And like when I started sharing it, I honestly thought, if I can help just one person to make it easier to wean their babies and overcome that fussy eating and get that calm mindset, because I'd gone through fussy eating with my kids, I'd gone through and got to the other side and I had all the tips and tricks and things that I had done, but I'd no education and things behind it. But I just thought if I can help one person, and then like, I don't know, I still like lie in bed at night going, holy Jesus, like I've nearly 200,000 followers on Instagram and then I have another like 100,000 on Facebook and I get like 150,000 people to my website every month, like from all around the world. And it's just mental. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. It's just
So
crazy.
cool. So cool.
Yeah.
I love this. And I mean, you've touched upon your own weaning experience briefly, and this is how you kind of discovered baby-led weaning. Can you tell me a little bit more about, so you've got 2 kids, yeah?
I've got 3.
3. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about your experience weaning, and kind of what you learned along the way?
Okay, so with Jade refused to eat from a spoon. So back then the advice was to start weaning at 4 months. Now it's around the 6-month mark. So it's when your baby is around the 6-month mark, they can sit up unaided, they have good neck support, they've lost their tongue thrust. And then you start weaning your baby. But when Jade was a baby, the advice was to start weaning at 4 months. But by the time she got to 6 months, she just would not let me feed her with a spoon. And so I ended up bringing her to a pediatrician because I was like, there's something wrong with my baby. She's not letting me feed her. She won't eat. And he was like, what is she doing? And I'm like, she's trying to grab food. She tried to put it in her mouth on her own, but she's not capable of doing this. And he was like, let her do that. But just make sure you're giving her the foods that you would be feeding her on a spoon, but just give it to her in a safe way. So I started doing that with her and I got really sure about like the way I was feeding her because she was so capable of eating. Like she'd spoon up beans with her hands. So she was just so capable. But then I had Dylan, my middle boy, and I didn't do that kind of weaning with him. I went the traditional methods with him, and he was he was fine at eating, but he became really fussy. And I did everything wrong. Everything that he didn't like, I didn't give it to him. I just stopped giving it. So he didn't like broccoli, I wouldn't give him broccoli. If he didn't like carrots, I'd be like, right, he doesn't like carrots. And I cut out all of these foods. And then as he got older, he got fussier and fussier and fussier, to the point where he was just like crying when he saw what was going to be on his food, on his plate for dinner. So I kind of did everything incorrectly with Dylan and learnt a lot from that experience as well. So then when Oscar came along, Dylan was 7, and I was like, right, that's it. There's no more alternatives. I'm just cooking dinner. And if you don't want to eat your dinner, that's totally fine. But there is nothing else. There's no more fridge. There's no more other kitchen. There's no more second dinners. I'm cooking one meal for my family. And I just like cut it off. And I was just like, right, that's it. And eventually, like, he went back. He's like the best eater. Like within about a year, he was eating everything. And like things that he used to cry about, like asparagus, he'd be like, it's actually not as bad as I really thought that it was. And Oscar, so like Oscar was just amazing. He was like, I did everything I did with Jade. I fed him from when he was around 6 months. I think it was like a week off 6 months. And I just gave him like really soft foods that I felt comfortable with, that were soft and squashable. They were really baby friendly, really safe. I started with like sweet potato spears, avocado spears, but like really squashable between your finger and thumb. And I just put them down in front of him and I let him pick them up and put it to his mouth on his own. And I just started taking photos of him because it was so funny and so cute. And his faces and the expressions he made when he was eating just made it like, and I think you're more relaxed as well when it's your third than you are with your first. But with him, I was like, oh my God, he's eating like beetroot hummus and like avocados. And he just loved his food. And I tried him with everything. I made like kale pestos and beetroot hummuses and baby lasagnas and all this like really different, lovely food. And he just loved his food. Until he didn't when he was about 18 months.
Yeah.
So like they all go through that no matter what way you do it too. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that phase, God, and I feel like, to be honest, my daughter's probably just coming out of it now. We're getting in a better place with all of them, but yeah, it's just, I mean, I've had some real fights with them. Like I'm like, here's your dinner. I don't like that, and I'm like, well, you've not tried it, so we're not going with that narrative. I'm like, how many times do I need to say this? And I always and try and encourage them now, especially because they can communicate. I'm like, look, just try it. Just because you don't like the look of it doesn't mean it doesn't taste delicious. And if they try one mouthful and they don't like it, then fine. You don't have to eat it. You're not getting anything else, but you don't have to eat it. I'm not going to force feed it to you. But 9 times out of 10, they try it and they go, actually, this is really nice. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not trying to feed you poison, am I? No. So yeah, they're just wild, these little beings.
So the best bit of advice I will give anybody that's going through fussy eating is to, as a mum, take a really deep breath. Know that like you've cooked this like amazing dinner and maybe or maybe not they're going to eat it. So when you put it down in front of your child, the best thing you can do is to not have any reaction about food, whether they eat it, whether they don't eat it, or whether you want them to eat it. You just put it down and that's dinner, and instead change the conversation. So have a chat about like, so how's your day? So what was your favorite thing that happened today? Or we did this thing, it was amazing. We used to have a joke at the table. So everybody had to come to the kitchen table with a joke. Like silly kid jokes. So we'd have like silly knock jokes, or like, why did the duck walk across the road? Like silly ones. And I'd help Oscar have his little joke when he was like 3 and he was going through that like fussy time. And it just changes the dynamic of the table of sitting together as a family, and it makes it less about the food and more about the dynamic of the family. And that changes how your children perceive meal times. Like even now, like my daughter has moved out. I have an 18-year-old and my little boy is now 11, and we always still at dinner time, we all sit together at dinner time and we all love dinner. It's all like, how was your day and what did you do today? And it's having those chats but doing that with little kids too, because it changes meal times. And for parents who are really struggling, they're not having that, and meal times become this really, really, really stressful, anxious place where it's like, please eat one more bite. Come on, just try one bite. And instead of doing that, just have an attitude of, if you don't want it, that's okay. And just eat your own dinner, and then just change the conversation. Because some days they will eat it, and then some days they're not going to eat it. But just make sure that they know that, right, there's rules. I'm changing the rules around dinner time. We're having our dinner. This is dinner. And if you don't eat it, that's totally okay. That's up to you. My job is to make you really nice food, and your job is to decide whether you want to eat it or not. And that's a really hard thing to do. But I'm telling you, if you do it, it changes like the whole dynamic around your table. It's so nice.
I love
so
this.
lovely.
Great piece of advice there. Love it. And baby-led weaning. So, I mean, we've discussed off air actually that I've started weaning already. I have a 4-month-old. He's nearly 5 months. I'm going to caveat that because he will be 5 months very, very soon. We started purees at around 17 weeks because he was showing. Do you know what? He wasn't showing signs like he was watching my food and opening his mouth, but he's a big boy. And it was very clear that he needed a little bit more than milk. And he's sturdy. He's sitting in his high chair. He can hold his own neck up. And I've done this before with my other kids. So I was like, let's do this. But I haven't started baby-led weaning yet because he is still small and he's learning how to use his hands. So when would you say is the right time to specifically start baby-led weaning?
So around the 6-month mark. So you want to make sure that your baby is definitely able to sit up unsupported by cushions, that they have really good neck support, and that they're reaching out and grabbing food and able to put food to their mouth on their own, because otherwise it's going to be really frustrating for them. And they don't get that, they don't get those, they don't develop that skill until they're around the 6-month mark. Anyway, most babies don't. Your baby might be sooner than that, but it's around the 6-month mark. But definitely for baby-led, it's because they're picking up food and putting it to their mouth and they have to learn that chewing skill. It's really important to kind of keep it around the 6-month mark. So the advice was exactly 6 months. Now it's changed to around the 6-month mark, because some babies are ready before 6 months and some babies, you kind of don't want to delay weaning past 6 months, but definitely around the 6-month mark. So anytime from like 5 months to 6.
And I mean, I have done a bit of baby-led weaning and a bit of purees with every single one of my kids. I kind of keep it a bit fluid. So there are options wherever we go or whatever we're doing. I have also always been that parent that has been very, very anxious about choking. That has like been my biggest thing about baby-led weaning. And that's probably why I've kind of put it off until they're a little bit older. Can you talk around choking? And I mean, I know choking is quite a normal process, and it's part of the weaning kind of process that they kind of learn how to swallow.
Well, choking isn't, but gagging is.
Gagging,
Gagging is where your baby's gag reflex, where your molars start on the side of your mouth, where an adult's molars start. That's where your baby's gag reflex starts. So anything that goes past this point in your baby's mouth is they're going to gag and splutter it out. And some babies will do this loads and some babies won't do it at all. So Oscar did it maybe for the first couple of weeks, scared the absolute bejesus out of my husband. He jumped out of his chair. I'm like, just calm down. Take a deep breath. And it's really important that you try and not to react. But gagging is a really, really important process and an important part of your baby learning how to chew food. And whether they're doing traditional weaning or they're doing baby-led, they're going to gag at times. If you've got a gaggy baby and you spoon feed a baby, and they're going to gag the food out, but you won't be freaking out as much about it because the food is pureed. But even when you progress from, if you were to do traditional weaning, just traditional weaning on its own, and you were to do the proper traditional weaning steps, which is really thin purees, smoother purees, lumpier textures, mashed, going into like thicker kind of chopped, going into finger foods when they get to around 18 months or 12 or 18 months, your baby still doesn't have their back molars. So your baby is still chewing food with their gums, which I think is a really interesting fact, because even at that age, they might be able to bite food off from the front or from these teeth that go back to here, but they don't have their back molars. Babies at 18 months, they don't get their back molars to actually chew food, and masticating food is what your back molars do. So until they get those back molars, when they're around 2.5 years of age, they're 3 years of age, they're still chewing food with their gums, which I find really interesting to help put parents' minds at ease when it comes to baby led. It's really important that food is really soft and safe. So you want to make sure that it's squashable between your finger and your thumb. And to test your baby's gum strength, for parents who are like really worried about giving their baby solid food for the first time and letting them do a baby-led approach, like give them something like sweet potato. Like that's the best, I think. So you can peel a sweet potato, cut it into chipper chip sizes. So like you're from the UK, you know what a chipper chip looks like. It's a big, thick, chunky French fried chip. Yeah, baton, spear of potato, and roast it in the oven on a little bit of parchment paper with a bit of olive oil, and you're going to roast it until it's soft. My little boy like picked it up and put it through his fist, and he like sucked sweet potato. He was disgusting. They're disgusting things, but they sucked sweet potato through his fingers, and because it was that soft, so it's almost like it's been pureed, almost the way he was eating it. The same with broccoli, the same with all foods that you give them. They're all very squashable. They're all very safe. They're all very like, you press it down with your finger and your thumb and it'll totally break apart. So there's absolutely no risk of your baby choking. Your baby might gag, and it's really important that you let your baby, when they do gag, that they get to work it out on their own, that you don't interfere. You don't put your finger in their mouth. You don't try to like, have you done that?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Because what can happen is their mouth is so tiny. When you put your finger into their mouth, you can actually push the food down, and you don't want them to do that. You want them to work it out on their own. And it teaches them to not overstuff their mouth. It also teaches them to chew their food. So when they put food into their mouth, that they're actually getting that like chewing, because they don't like the sensation of gagging. It makes them like their eyes water. So they only do it a few times. And then once they stop doing it, they start going into the process of like, okay, I have to actually chew my food before it gets past this point so I can swallow it. And anything that they don't chew, it'll basically come out. They have such a sensitive gag reflex though. So like obviously some babies will gag a lot more, but the evidence actually shows that the incidences between babies that are baby led and traditional weaning, the incidence of choking, they're like non-existent unless you're giving your baby foods that are really unsafe, like round tomatoes, round berries, round grapes, hard pieces of vegetables, like round pieces of carrots. You want to cut everything long ways. You want to make sure everything is really soft and safe, and really use your mum's intuition. And I always find that like when it comes to things like meat, slow cook it. I slow cooked it, and if I didn't slow cook it and I was giving my baby meat, I would give him things like minced meat, or I would give him like fish and make it into like little fish cakes, or make like little minced burgers, which like if you got a burger and you pushed it apart, it would totally break apart. So like use your intuition, use your own mother's intuition, and ask yourself, like, do I feel safe and comfortable about giving this to my baby? And then, is it soft enough to squash between my finger and my thumb? It is. Do I feel safe and comfortable to give this to my baby? And if you don't, start off at a process that's like really slow for you, and work to the point where your baby is showing you their capabilities, and then you can kind of increase the types of food you're giving them as you're kind of going along together. So it's a slow process that you're kind of working through together, which is actually really nice. And that's the way I would have fed my babies, because I was like, I'm worried about doing it, but I want to make sure that I'm being really safe with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I love that. And I mean, can you just talk me through a few of the benefits? Because I know there are lots of benefits for baby-led weaning for both babies and parents.
So the number one thing I think is self-regulation. And this is something that I'm actually, so I work, I'll be a registered nutritionist, hopefully I keep saying hopefully, I will be a registered nutritionist by the end of September, beginning of October. And I'm working a lot with mums, and something that I've always just talked about, like self-regulation has been this thing. So it's that thing of like you stop eating when you're full, and babies are born naturally with this. So when you give your baby food and they're eating it, they stop eating when they've had enough, and that's something you're born with. And that's basically knocked out of you by overfeeding, over spoon feeding, like, oh, just one more bite. And it's something that we are born naturally with, but we very quickly get rid of because of influences from, like, I grew up in a house where my mum was like, you're not leaving the table until your plate is gone.
Same.
Yeah, like that's a normal thing, I think. But when I find like with my little boy, he could just have a day where he's just not really feeling very hungry. And when his tummy tells him that he's had enough, he's 11, he's like, no, my tummy is telling me I'm done. And I'm like, okay. And you have to be really okay with that. Even if he's only eaten like half of a plate full, you're just like, no, that's okay. You're done. And it's something that we have to try and like, I think when we start weaning our babies, our babies are little, it's to try and get them back in tune with that, because with rising obesity levels around the world, I think that is one of the most fundamental things that we miss and that we lose along the way, where it's like we overeat or we eat when we're not hungry, and we finish our plate or we finish that bag of whatever. With baby led, they stop eating when they're full. And if you let them and honour that along the way, along the whole journey, it's amazing. It's amazing to watch it. Like they'll never eat until they feel sick, ever.
No.
It's amazing.
I do think that is one thing that I have learnt. And it's weird when my parents still come to say, they're like, no, they haven't cleaned their plates, they can't get down. And I'm like, but they're full. No. And this is the thing, you know, if they say, Mummy, I'm full, and then come back to me 5 minutes later and say, I want pudding, I'm like, no, you're full. So we're not playing that game. But I will very much honour if they say, look, I don't want any more, I'm full, then fine. And then there are days my daughter will not eat. She just sometimes does not eat her dinner. Sometimes she does not eat her breakfast. She'll have one mouthful, two mouthfuls, and then be done. And I mean, she's not wasting away. So, you know, we're all fine.
I think you have to understand, like, if your baby, like, we all like worry about our babies are not eating, or children are not eating enough. They're going to wake up in the middle of the night. Like, that's the biggest thing that I hear from mums. It's like, if they don't eat their food, I have to give them something else because they're going to wake up. But set the precedent of like, this is your meal. We're not cooking anything else. When you're finished, you're finished. And if you want to come back to it, or you want to put it by and come back in a little while, that's totally okay. You can totally do that, but you don't get anything else. So they know that they're not getting the alternatives. But I think it's like, it's honouring that, like their fullness signals. And like with the mums that I'm working with, that's something that I'm really working with them in terms of habits. So creating habits and working with them over the space of a few weeks, where I'm like, right, this is the first habit we're going to look at. Your natural satiety signals. So I want you to, every time you take a forkful of food, chew it well, put the fork down before you put another forkful in your mouth, because we can tend to sit there shoveling food into our mouth and like getting through and going to the next thing. But it's eating mindfully, and it's intuitive eating. Like, intuitive eating is a thing because we've lost that skill. Like we were all intuitive eaters as babies. So it's getting back to that. And variety of foods, like babies having, I think with baby led, you with traditional weaning, you're pureeing foods, you're pureeing, say, broccoli and bananas and avocados and chicken and all this kind of stuff, and putting it all into a spoon and shoving it into your baby's mouth. Not shoving it, you're putting it into your baby's mouth. But with baby led, they get to see the food. They get to see what broccoli looks like. They get to see what beetroot looks like. They get to see what carrots look like. And you don't get that until you're way, like, much older if you're baby led versus traditional. So from baby led, they get that from 6 months. With with traditional, they might not see food. They might not see what broccoli looks like until they're about 18 months. So there's a very big difference in like the food, the variety of foods. And I notice like a lot of the mums that I would work with or that I've worked with their babies, like when their babies get to 18 months, like 2 years, they eat everything. They're just like, oh, it's broccoli, it's like carrots, and it's brilliant. It's so amazing.
And also textures, because I feel like kids can be really funny about textures. I know that ours are very, very funny about textures. And I feel like when you do baby-led weaning, they get to grips with textures so much quicker. And they're feeling it, they're then tasting it, trying it. And, purees, essentially, you can make them less pureed, slightly more like lumpy. But essentially, they are kind of all the same, really. Whereas you can actually really have fish, the texture of fish, the texture of chicken, the texture of vegetables.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? Like it's the textures that put kids off once they start eating solid food. They're like, I don't really like that slimy, or it's like gooey, or it's this. So like you have children that have these like issues with like things and the feel of things as they get older.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really great thing to be able to kind of go, right, like, and I loved like when Oscar tried broccoli for the first time, and I always tell the story when I do like baby events and the differences between like traditional and baby led. I made him broccoli and I steamed it, so it was like really soft. And I remember putting it in front of him and he picked it up. So it's like a perfect little handle broccoli is, and it's really soft, so it's squashable. And he picked it up and he kind of looked at it and he rubbed it on his face. So he kind of had that, like that feeling of what broccoli feels like, or like the touch of it. And he's looking at it and he's rubbing all the little stem things. And then he puts it in his mouth and he's like trying to taste it, and that like bitterness. So like it's just so different to traditional weaning. It's very different, but it's really safe. And I know so many parents who like their biggest worry is that my baby's going to choke. But honestly, like the evidence between like baby led and traditional weaning in instances of choking are like the exact same. Like there is no higher risk for babies that are traditional weaned versus babies that are baby led. It's the exact same. And in fact, the more amount of infants that actually have incidences of choking, which is where your airway gets blocked, you're turning blue in the face and you need like help to work it out. So you're going to, I'm not registered, I'm not CPR. So the more instances of that actually happen when they're toddlers, when they're walking around and they start putting things into their mouth that they shouldn't. So like being able to reach up and find grapes in a fruit bowl, for example, or blueberries on the table, or being able to open the fridge and take out things that are unsafe for them to eat, like say cherry tomatoes. So something that would be around that you haven't actually cut. So putting those things all up really, really, really high, taking
That's a great tip.
Take your grapes out of your fruit bowl, put them in the fridge, but on the very top shelf. So when your baby does start toddling around, that's where you do them. And then I would also say for any parent that's worried, just do an in-person first aid course for pediatrics. Like it's the best thing that you can possibly do to put your mind at ease.
I agree with this. I agree with that. And that's a great tip about the fruit and putting it up high, because I've never actually thought of that. And that for me has always been a terrifying time when they just put everything in their mouth, bird poo and all.
Coins, batteries, like they're the things. Lego, coins, batteries, grapes, blueberries, like they're the things that, and you become complacent because you're like, oh, they've been eating all on their own, and I'm going to give them a stick of cucumber. Now, like I do a really, really, really safe I take a very safe approach to baby led. I don't do the sticks of cucumber for small babies. I don't do anything like that. I do can you squash it between your finger and your thumb? And if you can, it's safe for your baby. And I follow that process the whole way along. When your baby does get their front teeth, they're able to chunk and bite things off. So hard pieces of food, you might not see or feel the two little top teeth or the two little bottom teeth. But once there's a pair of them, top and bottom, they're able to then bite, take chunks off food. So that's why I'd always be really err on the side of caution in terms of like the things that you're giving your baby, and know that if I gave my baby a piece of hard carrot for them to gum on because they're teething, because they've not got no teeth, like it's fine if they've got no teeth at all and they're teething, and they're maybe, you give them like a hard piece of apple or something, like, I mean a whole apple for them to like bite and chunk down on. But once they get those teeth, they're able to bite and take chunks of food off. So I just don't do it at all, just in case
No,
they're
and
hiding in there somewhere.
I actually I've got one of these. I can't remember what it is, but I'll link it in the show notes. It's it's like a pouch, and you can like shove berries in. It's like a silicone like thing, so the berries are inside, and you can hold it, and they can gnaw in it but suck the juices out, so it's like great for teething, and they're still holding something, but there's no risk of them choking on anything because whatever the food is inside. And we've actually started doing that now because, again, it's only the juices that are kind of coming out, and he can pick it up himself. He can put it, like, he can practice that whole like hand to mouth thing, which he loves. I think he's going to love baby-led weaning when we get to that point, because he just loves anything that he can put to his mouth, you know, grabbing the water bottle and everything else. So I am actually quite excited. But can we have a little bit of inspiration? I mean, you mentioned sweet potato and avocado as like very good first foods. What else is quite good kind of in those early months of baby-led weaning?
So the first week of the first 2 weeks of baby-led weaning with my little boy, I introduced allergens. So you have to introduce allergens like every 3 days. So like, well, the advice is every 24 hours, but I kind of waited every 3 to 5 days. So I kind of introduced them in little amounts, increased it often over 3 days, and then went on to the next one. But other than the allergens, I think for the very first foods, like I started off with really safe foods like the sweet potato, the avocado, butternut squash, and green. Like, try your best to start with green first, because it has a really different taste profile to what your baby is already used to eating. So if you start with green food, they get that like bitter compound that they have never tasted before, and it gets them used to it and gets them more prepared to trying new foods as they get older. It's really important. Then after about 2 weeks, I kind of went on to family foods. So I just adapted every family food, every family meal that I was making. So at the beginning, your baby's only going to be eating one meal. So I started with lunch. So whatever I was eating for lunch, I was giving it to my baby. So it might be like, okay, he's had egg and I know he's okay with egg. I'd make an omelette and I'd cut it into little strips. And I'd give him like a little strip of omelette. I'd give him berries, but I'd cut berries into like squash, like not blueberries at 6 months, but like say a strawberry, for example, cut a strawberry into like, or unless you get like the big chunky strawberries, depending on where you live. We get these like really big chunky strawberries here during the summer months. They're like king strawberries. They're massive. You can actually give him one of them without even cutting it, because it's so big and it's so soft, and they can put it to their mouth and kind of gum down on it. The other strawberries I would just cut into quarters and put it down, and just make sure that it's not too small, that they're able to pick up and put to their mouth. And then, so like high protein or high iron, so iron rich food at every single meal, because babies from 6 months to 12 months need almost the same amount of iron that a grown man needs, which is really interesting.
Wow.
So add an iron rich food at every meal. And for mums as well. So mums actually need almost double. So I think it's 14.8 or 14.7 milligrams versus 7.8 for a baby, and it's almost 15 for a mum. So mum needs like so much more. So like an iron rich food at your meal, I would do like a preloaded spoon with something on it, and just always get them used to like being able to pick up a spoon. If you get the baby preloaded spoon, you can push food down onto it and they can put it to their mouth and put it in themselves, and it just gets them used to eating with a spoon. So I would do like an iron-rich food, an energy food, which is something with a carbohydrate in it. So either pasta, a little bit of pasta, so like 2 or 3 little pieces of pasta, but just I would overcook it. And the fusilli one is really good because you can kind of put your finger around it, and then make something like a tomatoey sauce or a little cheesy sauce or something, and put that over it with your little bit of egg on the side, a little bit of berry, and 1 spoonful, and just let them kind of explore that little bit of food. And it's small, tiny, tiny, tiny amounts. And then I would be eating the same. So I'd be eating an omelette with a few strawberries on the side, whether I was having pasta or whatever it was. But whatever food you're eating, your baby is eating the same thing as well. And it's really great because like the amount of mums I'm working with at the moment that are just so depleted and so on the floor about like, well, my baby is getting everything and my baby's doing great, but I just feel like
I'm doing,
exhausted.
Yeah.
And baby-led weaning is a really great time for you to sit with your baby and eat the same food.
Yeah.
So whatever you're cooking, you're going to modify it for your baby. So no salt. You're going to leave the salt out of it. You're obviously not going to do honey because honey is not good for babies under the age of 1. And then you're going to sit with your baby, and whatever you're making, you're going to make it more baby friendly. So if you go onto my website, I think it's about 1,000 recipes on my site, and then the same on my Facebook page. There's loads and loads and loads of recipes, but they're all baby led and mum friendly. So that's kind of what I do.
Amazing. That is so incredible. And if you were to leave us with 1 tip and 1 product today, what would they be? What is your last words to us all?
My last words, 1 tip. My 1 tip. Oh God, you're putting me on the spot because I've given all my tips.
So many tips. I feel like you've packed in a lot.
Okay, give me a topic tip.
Maybe on something around like mess. How can we handle the mess?
Okay, so get a splash bath. So do you know the wipeable tablecloths that you get?
Yes.
The ones that you get on a roll. I don't know if you go into like
yeah. I know what you mean.
You know the ones that are on a roll and you can cut them, you can get them cut to whatever size you need them if you're having a party, and they wipe across and you can like roll them up and use them again. Those tablecloths are amazing. They're a lifesaver. So what I would do is take one of those cloths, measure your baby's high chair and make a square around it. So you know that anything that's within like arm's reach of your baby, if they were to like take it and drop it down onto the floor, that it would land on this splash mat. Now, obviously, if they're not throwing it, but anything that lands down, because that would be one of the biggest things that parents would say is that I don't know how much my baby is eating, because a lot of it goes on the floor. So I actually don't know, have they had enough, if they need more. So anything that falls onto the little splash mat, you can pick it back up and put it back onto their tray. Any dogs, keep them out. They need to go into another room while you're weaning, because it's really important for both your baby and for your dog. Otherwise, the dog will start jumping up and trying to grab food out of your baby's hand. Keep the dog in the other room. And then the little splash mat, when dinner time is over, you can wipe it down, you can just stick it into the high chair and have it there for the next time. And that is like the best thing ever. And like, do not let your baby eat spaghetti sauce in a white top, because you just throw it out.
No, that is a very, very good tip. And what about your product?
Well, my product is, so I'll just show my book actually, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah, so this is my baby-led feeding cookbook. This is the one that became a #1 bestseller, so it's covered in food. But this is my book, and it has 164 recipes that are perfect for baby-led weaning in it. So you can get it on Amazon. It's the one with the baby on it, because somebody else called their book the Baby-Led Feeding Cookbook.
Helpful. So helpful.
Yeah, so helpful. But I did loads of stuff in the States then with like a dietitian over there, and I was working with her, and she shared loads of things on my book. And then I had so many people messaging me going, "Oh my God, I got your book." And they were sharing the other book.
Oh God. Oh God.
I
mean, how helpful, how helpful. Well, I'll link the right one in the show notes. Do not worry.
Thank you so much.
And then for anyone who wants to reach out and say hi, where can they find you?
You can find me at Aileen at babyledfeeding.com, or follow me on Instagram. And if you'd like to work with me, or you need any help with weaning your baby or fussy toddlers, or taking care of mum's nutrition, you can find the link with the type form in my Instagram on my link in bio. So it's there.
Thank you. Okay? You have been an absolute superstar. Thank you for sharing all your words of wisdom with us today. It's been so much fun.
Thank you so much, Marianne. It's lovely to meet you.
You too. Okay, wait there. Wait there.